What's up guys, it's Endymion, and today yet another game developer is trying to devalue and say that Elden Ring is not worthy of its success. And naturally, I will now dissect this for your viewing pleasure and reveal the gaping holes in their argument for educational purposes, mostly. Before I begin, please do not send hate mail or harass anyone. This is simply a response video and more so a commentary on why Western developers still can't seem to comprehend why Elden Ring has found success without relying on the fundamentals Western game devs have been using for years at this point. I have already made a video about this topic regarding other Western game developers' comments, so think of this video as a follow-up to that one. And watch that other video as well if you'd like. I do consider it to be one of my best vids so far. I am also not saying this developer in particular is bad at their job, far from it, but this mindset of needing every game to be made for everyone is ridiculous, so anyway, let's begin. These tweets came out a while ago, but I was never made aware until recently, and after having read through these, it's almost insane how tone-deaf Western devs are when it comes to games like Elden Ring and anything like it. This dev goes on to say things like Elden Ring feels like it was designed by a 6-year-old because it doesn't spell everything out for the player, as well as saying the menu interface is terrible and calls the menus overcomplicated when in reality the menus within Elden Ring are pretty simple to read, and you can even request more detailed information with a single tap of a button so you can better understand what each stat does in the game. They go on to say that the gameplay is the equivalent to a trip to the dentist because of its difficulty, and finally, and this was the tweet that made me make this video in the first place, is this, so I'll just read it for you. In response to another dev who said that it's impossible to make a game for everyone since everyone is different, this dev had this to say, and I quote, "Every player paid for the game and thus should get to enjoy it. Otherwise, they are subsidizing hardcore Dark Souls players. F them. Everyone who paid should be allowed to enjoy a game that interests them, not get violently owned and then told they suck by the community." Okay, so there's a lot to unpack here, and I think this tweet in particular perfectly summarizes why Western game design ideology has worsened over the last few years, to the point where many games from the West feel homogenized and very samey in general. Saying because you paid for something means you should be able to enjoy it is true, but falls apart based on what exactly it is you're trying to experience. If it's food or a service like Uber, yeah, okay, then I agree. In terms of entertainment, like the other devs said, it's quite literally impossible to make a game that is for everyone and suits their every need. Games and all entertainment really are separated by their genres, and knowing this can obviously be used as a very great tool to know what you're getting into before you pay for it. With this everything should be for everyone mentality is not only tone deaf, but is quite literally impossible to achieve. This would be like someone buying a ticket to a heavy metal concert like Trivium or Mastodon and then complaining that the music being played is too heavy and loud, and then accusing the music for not being broad enough so everyone can enjoy. Simply because you bought something, whether a game or a ticket to a show, does not mean the show or game is at fault simply because it doesn't cater to your every need. Why would you buy a hardcore action RPG like Elden Ring and then get mad when it's anything other than a hardcore action RPG? Like, what did you want from it? Animal Crossing? This mentality that everything that doesn't cater to my every whim is not only childish but highly unrealistic, and of course it goes well beyond just video games. Imagine how dumb you'd look if you bought a ticket to a horror movie and then got upset that the movie was scary and you don't inherently enjoy horror movies, but since you bought the ticket, it is now somehow up to the creators of the horror film to modify their art so you can now watch it alongside others. Like, what exactly do you want? A no scare filter mode for horror movies, and of course the annoying constant request by game journalists to incorporate easy modes into games like Elden Ring and Dark Souls because they don't want to learn a game but instead be able to overcome the game's many challenges without having to think or adapt much. And on the topic of trying to change stuff because you don't like it but damn everyone else, let's return to that other tweet about how Elden Ring doesn't spell out everything for you and saying the game is designed by 6-year-olds, which is hilarious when the game is made by quite literally one of the best studios in the industry with genre-leading professionals across all of its departments. Western devs seem to want games that have little to no surprises, no hidden lore or room for speculation. Pretty much everything in their eyes has to be plain and easy to understand, because if a game is like that, then it falls in line with the Western game philosophy idea of constant map markers, some sort of vision that allows you to see everything, and of course, easy modes. But the thing Western devs don't seem to understand is that communities like the Soulsborne ones in particular exist because the games are inherently mysterious, and due to this genius game design idea, it allows for channels like mine and many others the room to explore and contemplate what certain symbols or characters mean, and this leads to months, if not years, of engagement across thousands if not millions of players trying to understand the deep lore the developers have created instead of just playing a game, having it all spelled out for you, and then forgetting about the game in a few weeks' time. Games like Horizon, Ratchet & Clank, or pretty much every AAA Western game, they all try to make sure everything is spelled out for you. Who the characters are, who the bad guys are, and why. The mysteries are also solved by the end and explained plainly, and basically any and all mystery vanishes by the time the game ends. And then, like the stories of games like Horizon or basically any other Western made game under the sun, because there's nothing to discover or discuss or contemplate, the engagement the players have is limited to simply one playthrough, and that's basically it. How many times have you played a Western made game and the convo just kinda goes like this? Hey, did you play Horizon Forbidden West? Yeah. What did you think of it? It was pretty good. You? Yeah, it was alright. That's it. There's no room for discussion about its broader themes or what could this character's motivations or whatever mean, because any mystery or lore is either solved or told to you, which leaves literally nothing for anyone to discuss, so the engagement for the game just drops a week or two after release. And that's fine if that's what you're going for, but like genres, there's also different kinds of players who seek out various things from their entertainment. For example, one of my best friends in real life is a huge Destiny fan, but all he cares about is guns and builds, and has literally no idea about the lore of the series because he doesn't care, and that's a valid way for him to play because he enjoys it. But the game has tons of mysterious lore that the Destiny community can dive into and explore, which leads to long-term engagement, and that's why people are constantly talking about Destiny 2, which leads to more conversation spreading across the internet, which then entices more people to play it, and voila, the fandom grows. Souls games are the same way. If Elden Ring just laid it all out for you and told you exactly who every character is, what their motivations are, and what everything means plainly, like Horizon or any Ubisoft game ever, the community would simply not be as engaged as they are. But instead, the discussion surrounding games like Elden Ring, Bloodborne, or Dark Souls has room to speculate, which allows people to ask questions like, why does Ronnie look like a doll? Why are there huge alien spiders in Bloodborne? Why is there black goo monsters coming out of this boss in Dark Souls? Why are there blob enemies in Elden Ring that can mimic humans? Who was Torrent's former owner? These questions and so many more like it allow the community the means to engage with one another, form relationships, and grow and be continuously engaged for months, if not years, whenever a new game releases. Like, how many of you have replayed a Souls game in the last year? How many of you replayed Elden Ring alone? Now what about Assassin's Creed Valhalla or Avengers? Exactly, not that many probably, because there's nothing to discuss or dissect in terms of story, characters, or world building. So how come games like Elden Ring, which is apparently made by 6-year-olds, be so engaging and huge that it's led to the growth of channels like mine and others, as well as new fans the world over becoming engaged like never before? Doesn't sound like something a 6-year-old could do in my opinion, but hey, what do I know? This idea of if a game isn't for me, then it shouldn't be for anyone is such a brain-dead take to have. Like, imagine me who dislikes puzzle-only games going into a puzzle game fandom and going, hey, these games are too hard to figure out, so you guys have to dumb this game down so I can enjoy it too. And then the community would react by saying, well, why are you here then? We shouldn't have to disregard thousands of people's enjoyment because you don't like it. And then I reply with the dumbest take of all time by saying, well, I paid for the game just like you, so I have the right to enjoy it, even though this isn't a genre I am particularly fond of, so naturally everything about this experience must be replaced and fixed to fit my every need, otherwise this game shouldn't exist in the first place. Like, are you serious? You can't be that tone deaf no matter the reason to not understand just how insane that kind of opinion really is, right? I can't imagine telling a horror director to make their movies less scary so people who can't handle it don't end up pooping their pants would be a good thing for anyone who enjoys horror movies in the long run. Look, like I said earlier, Western devs are not bad at their jobs. There's obviously audience out there who want these clear-cut experiences that hold their hands and put lollipops in their mouths and give them participation trophies every 5 minutes in a game. I get that. I mean, there's even Western-led devs who are delivering amazing experiences and pushing their genres forward in creative and compelling ways. A good example is Ghost of Tsushima, which was a game many people commented about on my previous video about Western devs, and yeah, I agree. Ghost is amazing. It not only replaces cookie-cutter designs like markers with innovative in-game solutions like the wind telling you where to go, but offers engaging combat and a solid story. It's also what Assassin's Creed should have become instead of, well, what we got instead. Another studio would be Sony Santa Monica, who makes the God of War games. They not only revitalized an aging franchise, but brought in new ideas and fresh combat mechanics to mold what used to be a pretty standard hack and slash-like experience into a more methodical and thoughtful game. And by the way, God of War clearly took design ideas from games like Bloodborne or Dark Souls when it came to their combat, and if anything, God of War 2018 and its sequel Ragnarok both shows what happens when a Western dev embraces the genius of the Eastern devs instead of insulting them and saying they don't deserve their success. So if Western devs embracing the East means more games like God of War and Ghost and less crap like Avengers, then I'm all here for it. Anyway, not every game, just like every movie or song, can be or should be for everyone. That's why they're called genres and subgenres. It's why communities exist. Removing or changing something so integral to a particular fandom, whether it's the horror and scary movies, the difficulty and brutality of Soulsborne games, or the furry suits of furries, I guess, it's just how it is. Not everything is for everyone, and that's okay. Stop trying to pressure or force studios like From Software into making their games into something they're not. We don't need more Resident Evil 6s or the same thing again, but now in a different environment like Far Cry for the past 10 years, but instead just let people enjoy things even if you don't enjoy them. And that's why Western devs are still angry about Elden Ring and why changing it would only hurt the communities instead of helping them. Okay, well, thanks for watching everyone. I hope I got my point across here. Again, don't harass anybody and just understand that I'm not saying Western games are bad. I play Western games here and there myself. I accept them for what they are, and I don't want Western games I like, such as Destiny 2, suddenly adding concepts like dropping all experience on death like Elden Ring, and just let these genres be what they are. Thank you. And let me know your opinion in the comments below because I love reading them. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, consider liking, sharing, and subscribing to give my life meaning, and thanks to my patrons for their continued support as always, and I'm Endymion. More lore and commentary videos are on the way. I'll see you in the next one.